Welcome to the Wrong Kind of Music Podcast. This is a one-off special. I've got an interview with Uber Rock's Mark Ashby. Most of you will know that Mark Ashby does a lot of the judging for the Metal to the Masses competition, so we thought we'd bring him on today, have a bit of a chat about the competition, about what it's like being a judge on there, and yeah, just generally shoot the shit. Basically, let's start off. Have you enjoyed the competition this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, judging Metal to the Masses is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in the 30 odd years in the music business.
I can imagine.
There are so many good bands out there, and the standard for Belfast is always very high. I've been judging for 3 years now, and this year I think it's been particularly high. There's some amazing bands, and I do not envy Simon Hall on the 11th of May.
That's one of the first questions I was going to ask you was, how do you feel the quality of bands this year compares to the previous 3 years?
I think every year has been really strong, and each competition has had its own merits. In the previous years there have been, to be honest, the bands that have stood out, and you've said those are the guys with a genuine chance of getting the slot at Bloodstock. This year, approaching this year's final, I'd say it's that there's at least a four-way split, which speaks volumes for the standard of the bands. And every band has approached it with dedication and the commitment to win it and to get that slot and to take things to the next career.
I'd agree with that the last 3 years there's always been a couple of bands that have really stood out and you go, my money's on them. This year I think it's way more balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, walking into the final with the 6 bands, I couldn't call it.
Yeah.
I honestly could. I think of those 6 bands, any of them could go through.
Yes.
There's 4 or 5 who I think definitely, but you just couldn't call it. Whereas the last 3 years you were always going, yeah, I think these guys.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I've judged from the very beginning, and overall, one at the first year, they were definitely head and shoulders, particularly when it came to the final, because they basically laid their bodies on the line for that one. Mm-hmm. The Crawling, the year they won, definitely deserved it. Last year was a lot tighter, and I was really glad to see the Shrouded Boys win it, because they were one of the younger bands taking part in the competition. Yeah. And that's what it's about. It is new blood. And I was genuinely pleased to see them going through. But I think a lot of it, when it comes to the final, because it's one guy that makes a decision, it's down, I think, to what he's looking for Bloodstock for that particular year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, anything goes, and every band's got to get up there and just melt his face off. At this stage, as a judge, I'm out of the equation.
Yeah. Are there any bands this year that you think went out earlier than they should have?
Oh, tough.
Or even bands that were maybe didn't play to their strengths, or for whatever reason, bands that should potentially still be in the competition or should have made it to a semi and didn't?
I don't really think so, because the one band that did surprise me during the competition, and purely because of the novelty value, and I think they actually would go down quite well at Bloodstock, were Rule 6.
Okay.
Because they've got that novelty element to them, particularly when it came to the semi-final and they produced that guitar and the 2 guys doing the solo simultaneously.
Yeah.
That's one of those, whoa, hey, see something like that on stage at Bloodstock, that's going to get people talking.
I thought it was great, because one of the things we talked about was, whenever you see bands do this competition, if they get through stage 1, stage 2 and into the final, people are going to see those bands 3 times potentially, if they go to all the gigs. So what do you do to kind of up the ante? And that double guitar that Rule of 6 pull out, to me, was just, that's it. Yeah. That's the sort of thing. That's exactly.
Yeah, it would have been so easy for the guy to stand there and play it, but when they brought the other guitar player over, and of course one's a righty, one's a lefty. Yeah, that to me was a stroke of genius, and that sort of sparked in me, you know, sort of. And I said it after the Heat as well, the whole lightsaber thing that they have going on with the, you know, and the whole Star Wars thing that they've got going on. The novelty value possibly would have appealed, and I think it would have been interesting to see them in the final and to see what Simon made of them.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Whenever you go down to these shows, obviously there's going to be new young bands coming through. that you're not familiar with. I think maybe the likes of Thunderwolf would maybe be a good example. And then there's going to be other bands that you've seen 100 times. Bands like Cursed Sun. And not only have you seen them 100 times, you know the guys.
Yeah.
With that in mind, knowing that there's new guys that you've never met and then there's guys that you're literally friends with, how do you eliminate any sense of biasness whenever it comes to judging them?
I'm going to be brutally honest, it is difficult when you know the guys in the bands. But you've just got to judge it on how they perform on the day. I mean, as you say, I've seen bands like Cursed Sun play countless times. I'm really good friends with Jonesy and Kieran and Stevie, of course, who's now joined the band. You've just got to say, but I've seen them play some really shit shows over the years. I've seen many bands play shit shows, and I've seen shit bands play amazing shows.
Can't imagine, Annie.
Actually, I thought Russ and Taste of Sweetness were quite good on stage. I think they had a fairly decent wee stage show going on, but well, two of them in particular. But
we said ourselves. I mean, their semi-final show was 10 times better than their first show. Really surprised us. We thought they came out and just played so much better. So it's just difficult then. It's just sort of
it is. I mean, because Belfast's such a small scene, and I've been around it for so long, and Katie's in the limelight in particular, my local pub. You're seeing the bands week in, week out. You've just got to put it all aside, just sit there and judge them on their performance. And I will admit, you're sort of going, I would veer towards them. But then again, if they have a crap show, you've got to take that into account. If they have major technical problems and they don't deal with it properly, and the way you maybe know they can. You factor all that in. You've just got to put friendship aside. And I tell the bands that, because they'll come up and talk to me before the show, and I say, don't burn my guys, I'm a judge today. Have to be one step removed. I can't be seen to be too friendly with them.
And coming down and patting them in the back, great show lads.
I will congratulate them at the end of the show if particular bands have gone through, as I will with all the bands that make it through to the next phase. I will always congratulate, and the bands that don't make it, I will always go and say, commiserations, tell you what, give it another go next year.
One of the things we have talked about a lot in the podcast is how well bands fit in to a bloodstock competition or a metal competition, and a little bit about, should you be given high scores to a band if they're, for talk's sake, an alt rock or an indie band or a pop punk band. How much does that factor in the genre of a band? How much does that factor in whenever you're judging?
It does in a way, because you're sort of thinking, how will this fit in with bloodstock? And by the time you get especially to the semi-finals, a large proportion of the bloodstock bill. They have announced 90% of the main stage bands and maybe 80% of the Sophie stage bands, so the feel of the festival. But then you look at this year's festival. They've got Nightwish headlining one night, and they've got Mr. Big playing. With bloodstock, there's basically no rules. I believe it's about genuinely good rock and metal music. As long as it fits into the rock and metal genre, they're interested in it. So pop punk bands such as Surf Green, I must admit, I sort of thought, what the hell are they doing? Are these guys mental? They'll get melted at bloodstock. Then you go, well, why not? Because you've got Mr. Big playing here. And those of us who've been to bloodstock know the diversity of the bands. Yes, and plus what they're also looking for when they're looking for the new blood, they don't want every band sounding the same. No. If you go along on a Saturday afternoon and you've got 10 doom bands in a row, you're going to get bored. So what they like to mix it up. They want a doom metal band, they want a thrash metal band, they maybe do want a pop punk band. It's what bloodstock are after. So any band that fits into that criteria, that's fair game, and fair play to them for having the balls to enter it.
Just talking about Surf Green, I know we're going off topic a little bit here, but I think there's more to them than just pop punk. When you listen to the records, it's pop punk, but see when you see them live, there's so much more aggression to their music. To me, it's veering towards like sort of a style of hardcore punk, right? And Bloodstock have booked Biohazard and they've booked Propane. So I can't see why a band like Surf Green couldn't potentially go.
And that's the thing as well, because I know like Simon does his research before he comes over to the finals and stuff, and he does his research in every other band, and there are other avenues for bands to get the Bloodstock and play the New Blood stage. Yes, I agree. When I listened to Surf Green at first, I saw them in the semi-finals because I missed their heat. I thought, yeah, they're very Green Day, they're very that Blink 182 type pop punk. They did surprise me live. Yes, I agree with you. They were a lot heavier live, and it shows a progression in their sound. And bands have to progress and move on. So yeah, maybe that's a new the direction they're going down. Maybe they didn't get what they needed out of the studio. You gotta factor all that sort of stuff in.
If you are factoring in the genre, which I think everyone does to a degree, I don't think someone would rule out a pop punk band. But is it fair to say that a black metal band or a thrash band or a groove metal band is going to have a natural advantage over a pop punk band in a competition like this?
I think they're going to have a natural advantage when it comes to Bloodstock, full stop.
Yeah.
Because they obviously fit the whole Bloodstock ethos. And that is, it is one of the things that is always at the back of your mind is, how will this band go down?
Yeah.
Will they get bottled off the stage? And I think we've been very lucky in the 3 years so far. We've had 3 bands that have gone down really well, and with the exception of Shrouded, for obvious reasons, have really helped move their career forward.
Yeah.
Look what it's done for the Crawling. It got them, really did put them on the international stage, and they're playing festivals all over Europe. So yeah, it's you do have to bear in mind that what it's all about. So yeah, the heavier bands are always, I think, going to have the advantage. But if one of the heavy bands gets up on stage and, as I said, plays the worst gig they've ever done, and the pop punk band on the stage play out of their skins, that's what you've got to take into consideration, because at the end of the day, they've got 30 minutes on stage, and they've got to impress the crowd, and they've got to impress 3 judges, and then when they get to the final, there's one guy and one guy only, and he's going to be standing there with his arms folded like this, going, make me want you to take you to Bloodstock.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the years, we have seen a lot of people having technical problems on stage, and at times those technical problems are kind of outside the control of those musicians. It's just you've got technology on stage, and sometimes technology goes wrong. How much of an impact does that have on the judging when people have technical problems on stage?
It's how they handle it. Yes, you say every band has technical problems. A fader, a pedal might stop working, guitars might break a string. It's how the band handle it and how they interact with the crowd. Is their front man strong enough to carry a bit of banter for a couple of minutes while the guitar player changes the strings? Yes, there is an argument. The guitar should always bring 2 guitars, and they should always be tuned to what they need to, so they can quickly change. It's how they handle it. Do they handle it professionally? And that's the other thing. And I said this, I addressed the Underground Music Conference the other week about how bands should approach the media, and I said the one thing above all is to have a professional approach. So you get up there and account for all the possibilities, and yeah, have a front man who's confident enough. It was a prime example of it outside of the competition. A couple of weeks ago, we went to see what do you call them? Corey Clark and Warrior Soul, and 20 minutes into the set, the drum pedals broke on his kit. The guy carried on playing with his kicking the bass drum with his feet.
Really?
And then the guitar player covered with a bit of a solo, and then Corey, when he realised what was happening, started bantering with the audience about early curfews and normally and stuff like that. And they covered that really well, and it took the drummer literally seconds to replace his kick pedal.
Yeah.
So it's how you deal with it.
It's something, I've spent a brief period in time with a band, and it's not something I ever really considered, but it might be something worth. Have something planned. Have something prepared. A joke or
have a few stock. Have a few stock jokes, or you know, even take the piss out of the guitar player for not having a backup guitar. You not realise how important this competition is too, and you don't bring a second guitar.
Just don't choke.
Don't choke on. If you choke, and I mean, I've seen bands literally choke on stage and lose 5 minutes of their set, and the audience are bored because as soon as you lose the audience, that's it. You're over, and they may not come back. Everybody go to the bar. And just, we'll stand at the bar because these guys can't even.
There's certain obvious things that you're judging on whenever you're on the night. Obviously, the quality of the music. If the band writes shit songs, they're not going to do well. If they don't perform the songs well, they're not going to do well. What else beyond that is taken into account whenever you're judging on the night of the gig?
Stage presence, how they conduct themselves on stage, how they perform, how they interact with the audience, how they talk to the audience. A good example of it was Sky Pilot in their heat. Skid Row were playing next door, and they get up and go, "We're Skid Row from Doak."
Yep.
Automatically got a laugh right at the beginning of the show, set the mood, and that worked well. So you make few jokes, sense of humour. If you're a singer, be seen to be active and get in people's faces. You want to bring the audience with you, so get them up the front, get the mosh pits started. And they have the whole band as well. The whole band need stage presence. They just can't stand there and play their instruments. You can have a great front man, but if everybody's standing stock still and I'm just going to play this guitar solo, and you're standing there and you're not even smiling. But put your foot in the monitor and do the old-fashioned Guitar Hero pose if you have to. Rule of 6 did it actually quite well with a lot of their synchronised stuff. Cursed Sun have done it really well. Ketos, any of the bands that are in the final, they've had great stage presence, and that's important because if you don't have that presence on stage, you're not going to win the audience over.
Is there much consideration given the image of how a band look? I mean, if a band turn up with tracky bottoms and t-shirt on, as opposed to another band who might all wear a similar outfit to kind of look like a unit, is there any of that sort of taken into consideration?
Not really, no, because a lot of bands, image used to be important for bands, but a lot of bands play in their street clothes anyway. They might change their t-shirt before they go on stage. Sky Pilot did it beautifully actually in the heat with the anvils.
Yes. That that was a reference to the podcast thing. Yeah.
They did that really well, so they did a bit of a bit of fun with their image.
Yes, absolutely.
All dressed in black. So I mean, jeans and t-shirts, the uniform of the metal community.
That's true. That is true.
It's just a guy dressed in a suit. But
the one that did always stick in my mind was Red 6 used to always come out and they'd all wear black trousers, black shirt. And they'd all be in uniform, and there was always something about that I thought made them look like. I've talked about this loads, about a band looking like a unit, looking like 4 or 5 guys that are doing something together, not individually.
If you want to develop an image, I would say make sure it's suitable for the style of music the band play, and that it is coordinated in some way. You don't want like 4 of them all dressed in black and then a guy on in a white t-shirt. It's sort of okay, what's going on here? So I mean, the one thing that bugs me, and it bugs me about every band, and it doesn't apply just to metal and the masses, is bands that wear their own t-shirts on stage.
Can't have that now.
I just there's self-advertisement. Use a backdrop.
Are Maiden the exception to the rule, or does it even apply to them?
It even applies to Iron Maiden.
I know a lot of people will say that, but they make the exception for Maiden.
No, I wouldn't. It just seems a wee bit ego.
It is a bit.
But maybe they woke up that morning and it's a new clean t-shirt they've got.
Every time. Okay, so we've talked about the aspects that you judge a band on whenever they're on stage and they're performing. Is there any judging of the band, or is there anything that's taken into consideration off the stage? And that could be anything from whenever they're just in the venue, or their social media presence or the quality of the songs they've put out. Is any of that taken into consideration, or is it literally just those 30 minutes on the stage that matters?
I think with the competition of the nature of Metal to Masses, it just has to be those 30 minutes on stage. They could create the greatest video you've ever seen, and that's another way of getting to Bloodstock. It's another way to get into the new build. They do have the video competition, so they have the greatest video, but they're not playing that video on stage. It's 4 or 5 whatever number of guys on stage performing, and it has to be only okay. What I would look for is, does the band have merch? And do they have good quality merch, and how they maybe talk to the punters before and after the show, so how they interact on the day, because again, I mean, it's how they promote themselves at the event, because when you get to Bloodstock, you're up against, I don't know, 90 bands, something like that, and you've got to promote yourself at Bloodstock as well. So have they put any thought into how they're going to promote themselves at Bloodstock? Rabbit Bitch of the North did it really well when they went, even though they didn't go through Metal to the Masses, they got in via the Jaeger stage. They produced a one-off Bloodstock only t-shirt, and I thought that was a work of genius, a stroke of genius by those guys. They put a bit of thought into the marketing. We're going to give something to the fans. People come to see us at Bloodstock that nobody else is getting. So, if a band have put some thought into good quality merchandise and also talking to the fans before the show and after the show, and not just getting up stage and playing, you would look at that in a way, but their online social media videos, YouTube, whatever, you've got to factor a lot out. You can't look at that, because that doesn't happen at Bloodstock. They don't play the video.
What's the biggest mistake you see bands making?
One is choking, as we mentioned. 2, not looking like they're going through the motions. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of bands that are going, we're entering this because it's another gig.
Yes,
no,
we keep hearing that.
Bloodstock is the biggest heavy metal festival in the United Kingdom. If you're entering Bloodstock Metal to the Masses, you need to want to play Bloodstock, and you need to be seen to want to play Bloodstock. And the biggest mistake, I've referenced it in stage, talking about stage presence. If you don't look like you want to be there, then don't be there. Don't even enter the competition in the first place. So it's not showing any enthusiasm.
The competition's been running for 3 years now. This is our 4th year.
4th instalment, yeah.
Every year a band's going to win, and a band's going to go to Bloodstock, and that takes them out of the mix. And each year there's potentially going to be a band or two that go off their own merits, the way that Rabbit Bitch and Slatternera did in 2016.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to bring the pull down. Do you think the competition has a shelf life because of that? Can we only do this for so long before we're kind of scraping the barrel? Or do you think there's enough bands coming up and coming through that this can be done every year?
I think it does have a shelf life. I would monitor some of the other Metal to the Masses competitions across the water. There was one 2 weeks ago, we only 2 bands in it. And that was somewhere like Leeds.
The whole competition had 2 bands?
One heat.
Only
had 2 bands.
Okay.
So the pool may reduce. The format of the competition may well change. But then you look at Dublin. How many bands they have entering, and how many bands, they have something like 8 heats, 4 semi-finals. Okay, Dublin is bigger and does have a bigger gene pool than us, but there may be a possible argument for amalgamating the 2 competitions, but then again, are you going to travel 100 miles to see a band?
I wouldn't like to see that happen, because the Dublin event was running before the Belfast was, and
a lot of Belfast bands actually did
going down. So essentially, it did get split out. So to feel there's a need to bring it back together would feel like a step backwards.
I would say there would be an argument if the shelf life of either competition seemed to be expiring.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough young bands that are taking inspiration, saying, well, if they can get the Bloodstock, so can we.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude bands need to do. And I would also say that a lot of the bands who, obviously she said there's only one winner, but there's 6 bands in the final. Come back and do it again next year.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's true. Well, a lot of bands already have.
Yeah.
A bunch of bands have been.
Well, Cursed Son are in the final for the 3rd time in 4 years. So persistence. Keep at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen bands that have come through some of the Metal to the Masses competitions in England who've been doing it every year for 6 years, and in year 6, snap, they're suddenly there.
Yeah.
But some bands have got it at very, very first attempt, and they've only been going for 6 months, and all of a sudden they're playing Bloodstock. I said she edited an interview by a band who played Bloodstock in 2016, who won the way through to the New Blood stage. They didn't even have a demo recorded, never mind anything released, and they got onto the New Blood stage just by the strength of their live performances and their persistence.
They must be something else.
They've gone on to do a lot of good stuff. The bands, they need to be persistent. Just because you don't win, or you don't make it to the final, or you don't even make it to the semi-final, well, sit back and analyse. Well, why not? Listen to the likes of us. Listen, to the fans. Read your reviews. Is there something missing? Is there something that gives you that spark that will get you to that level where next year, 2019, hell yeah, we are ready to play Bloodstock?
What advice would you give to whatever band wins whenever they go and play Bloodstock?
Make the best of the opportunity. Get out there and promote yourselves. Walk around the site. If you're playing on the Saturday or the Sunday, be walking around the day or the 2 days beforehand with flyers telling people we're on the New Blood stage at 4 p.m. Make sure you hang about the media area, because there's always journalists there from all the major websites and publications, and they always have gaps in their interview schedule if you haven't got anything already arranged. Andy Pennington is very good at setting up interviews for unsigned bands. And I'm sure Andy, I know last year, helped Shrouded guys out a lot because they knew nobody. We helped them out as well because interviews set up for them. So talk to any media outlet that is willing to talk to you. Take sample CDs, even if they are only CDRs, to give them to the press guys. The big one: don't get pissed before you go on stage. Bloodstock like bands that are professional in their attitude. If a band turns up pissed and can't even plug in their guitar, they'll be fired straight off that stage again. Be cognizant of the turnaround times. It's 15 minutes strictly. If you take 20 minutes to set up, they'll take that 5 minutes off your set because you have to finish at a certain time because the next band's on 15 minutes after you. Yep. So above all, be professional, but make the best of the opportunity. Treat it as fun as well. It is fun, but it's serious at the same time. Treat the performance aspect of it as seriously and professionally. Treat it like you're the headliners on the main stage. But above all, avail mostly of the opportunity. Psychosis from Dublin played 3 years ago, and they sent their singer out for 2 days. They were playing on the Sunday in the New Blood with one of them big sandwich boards with what time they were playing at and free beer on it.
I remember that.
And then the first 100 people in got a free bottle of beer.
Oh, they did give out the beer?
Yeah, they did give out the beer. They brewed their own. It was their own home brew, apart from stinking. But, even, somebody who was it played? When Overoath played, because they had a new album coming out and had a pile of stock of their old last album, they were firing CDs into the crowd, which is technically not allowed, but, when you're playing, find a way of giving out a few freebies. If you've got a couple of t-shirts, even old design ones, fire them out into the crowd, get that interaction going. But above all, it's the main thing about Bloodstock for the New Blood bands. It's promotion for the bands, and it's designed to take them to the next level.
I've spoke to a few of the guys that have been and done it, and I get the impression there's pretty much 2 ways you can go about it. You can just go over, play your set, and then enjoy the rest of the festival. And if you do that, it's not the start of something, it's the end of something. It's the end of your Metal to the Masses thing. Whereas if you go over and you make as much as you can of that opportunity, speak to as many people, make as many contacts as you can, find similar bands to your own that you could potentially do tours with, that sort of thing. Then it's not the end of something, it's the start of something. You know?
Yeah, as much networking as possible. Hang about backstage, as you say. Find the other bands in the bill that play your style of music, particularly on the new build. Track them down. Trade numbers, trade Facebook addresses, whatever, and say we'd love to come back and play wherever you're from. It's a message Bruce Dickinson put across at the Underground Conference the other week. But it's bands should be working with each other and working together rather than against each other, and I think that's something that the Belfast scene actually is very good at. Bands working with each other. You know, somebody will offer up support slots to a young up and coming band. James is very, very good at it. I mean, a band he's never heard of, he'll give them the opportunity. But yeah, network and say, yeah, listen, we're so and so from Belfast, we'd love to come over. You're from Leeds, we'd love to we're trying to set up a UK tour, we'd love to play Leeds, will you give us a support slot? And then similarly, the bands from England, Wales or wherever will be looking to come to Northern Ireland. So yeah, network.
I've seen a lot of guys do that. More in the hardcore scene, they do like gig swaps. So they'll get friendly with a band from TWKOM, and they'll be like, look, we can get you a gig in Belfast and Dublin if you can get us a gig in Hamburg and Munich or something, you know. So and they go back and forward, and it's not being done for money, or, you know, it's not big gigs or anything. It's just getting to see a bit of the world and getting your band's name about there, and, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this. I don't know if you'll give me an answer. Who do you think's going to win?
I knew that one was coming. To be honest, I think it's a 4-way split, and it depends how the 4 bands perform. It's between Ketos, Death of a Salesman, Cursed Sun, and Lockhorns.
You don't think Oracle deserve to be in there?
To be honest, I have said this to the guys, they do deserve to get through the final, and they do deserve the chance. I don't think they're quite ready. Looking at the 4 that I think of, I think Steve has brought a new aggression to Cursed Sun, which has really helped them in the competition. I think Death of a Salesman have taken a massive chance in adding a second guitar halfway through the competition.
Yep.
And I think we spoke about it after the semi-final, that they were just still a tiny bit raw around the edges at that, but this is a month down the line and we know what they're capable of. Ketos have been awesome all the way through, and Pete and the boys have really, really brought it, and really brought that in-your-face attitude that I talked about, and the audience interaction and everything. Lockhorns, I thought, were fantastic in their heat, but were slightly off the boil in the semi.
Quite a few people said that, yep, and I'd agree with that.
So, if you were really going to put me on the spot, Ketos, I think will just about shave it.
Yeah.
But they've got 3 bands behind them, and it'll depend on it could depend as much on the running order. I mean, if they go on last, I think they'll destroy the place. If they go on first, they'll set the bar really, really high, and it could become really interesting. But one way or another, it's going to be a great final, and it's going to be a great night of music, and it's a showcase of the best 6 bands that we have on the Northern Ireland scene. Well, 6 of the best bands that we have on the Northern Ireland scene at the minute, and it just says a lot that there are so many other bands out there that aren't in that position. Yeah. And you've just got to look at the 18 in Life lineup to say how many of them are not in. Yeah. Metal of the Masses.
Well, a good bunch of that lineup would have played Bloodstock already.
Quite a few of them have played. Benny Means have played, Senescence have played, The Crawling have played.
Yeah. Rabid Bitch
have played. So yeah, there's at least four bands in the bill that have played Bloodstock on their own, and it's also a great testament that every time I go to Bloodstock, it's always the Irish bands from both sides of the border that actually really stand out.
Well, I thought 2016 was fantastic for that, with Shrouded winning, 10 Ton Slug winning the Dublin one, and then you had Rabid Bitch, Zlatanera, and Two Tales of Woe all over. That was a hell of a year for Irish bands. It really was. Sorry, it was the Crawling that played.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's right away. Even last year, I mean, again, we had Shrouded over, who, to me, the only problem Shrouded had were they were on directly against Obituary, which obviously affected their crowd numbers, but they still delivered a hell of a set, and people talked about it for ages afterwards. And you also had Dead Label over from Dublin, who were playing the Sophie stage.
Yeah.
And they've just played Hammerfest and have immediately been invited back. So that's the sort of platform. Dead Label, I think, played the New Blood stage about 4 years ago. Maybe long. I think they won the first ever Metal of the Masses in Dublin, out of which they got Bloodstock, from which they got support slot with Machine Head.
In the Ulster Hall?
In the Ulster Hall.
Yeah, was that?
So they got that, and then they've gone on to do Hammerfest, they've gone on to do American tours. I think Dead Label are a really good example of a band that have used Bloodstock as a trampoline.
Yeah.
They really propelled themselves to the next level.
Just one last question then. I think I said the last question was the last question. I'll ask another one anyway, because it's just occurred to me. Are there any bands you think should have entered this year that didn't?
Draconis.
I think that's the obvious one.
I think Draconis are the very obvious one. I think they were maybe slightly nervous too with the change in lineup, but Sleeve has really settled in. Maybe they thought it was too early. I think Altus might have made because they've got that connection. Altus, now that they've got a stable lineup and a stable sound, might make a fair crack at it.
I think Altus could have done well.
I think they could have. I think they were definitely final material, so it would be interesting to see if they enter next year. I'm trying to think of other bands off the top of my head.
The other band I would have said would have been Dunham Die. I was disappointed to not see Dunham Die in it.
Yeah, I think they were one of the bands. They entered 2016, and I think they were a bit disappointed that they didn't do as well as they thought they would. And it sort of was a wee bit of a dent, but then they went in to concentrate on the album, and with the album being out now, I agree with you. Yeah, they are. I mean,
they're a different band now.
Yes,
that's as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, they are just an absolutely different band, and I'd love to see them. They've taken a fresh approach to their music. They've taken a fresh approach to their stage show, the style that they're putting across. So I think they should.
Yeah, they're a band that really up their game, and as I said in my review of their album, they made the album that Machine Head should have made.
Yeah.
Which is high praise for a wee band from Northern Ireland, like.
And the other thing I think about Dunham Die is they sound incredibly modern at the minute. And the one thing that I think Bloodstock really needs to be pushing is getting modern bands involved, because, and I said this 100 times, Slayer's only got so long left, Venom have only got so long left, all these old bands from the 80s and the 90s and stuff, they can only go for so long. It's only a matter of time before Bloodstock has to bring up these fresh bands, and that's always what I thought Bloodstock Metal of the Masses is.
Yeah,
it's about getting these new bands up and getting them on the scene and getting them recognised, so that maybe one day they can be the ones on the main stage.
Yeah, I think so it should be about the progression. You start off in the New Blood, next thing you know you're playing the Sophie stage, next thing you know
to
you're
me,
on the...
if that's the spirit of the competition, then I think Dunham Die are perfect for it.
Yeah,
absolutely perfect.
But I'd love to see them enter next year. But as a judge I couldn't possibly comment, of course.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, is there anything you want to pimp or Uber Rock or anything like that?
Yeah, Uber Rock, the site that kicks ass.
And that's us. So thanks for watching. As always, click like, click subscribe, and thanks for listening to The Wrong Kind of Music.